mercy. First kind of serious topic. We did the little light stuff. So, salute to Shade Room. Pretty sure a lot of people have heard about this unfortunate, sad story. But if you haven't, um, autistic teen sentenced to 5 years in prison for assaulting teacher's aide who confiscated his Nintendo Switch. The Florida teen who was seen on video assaulting a teacher's aide after she confiscated his Nintendo Switch, has been sentenced to 5 years in prison. 18-year-old Brandon Depa, who has been diagnosed with autism and other disabilities, was sentenced on Tuesday to 5 years in prison and 15 years probation. Jeez, according to docs obtained by NBC News. Judge Terrence Perkins, who ordered the Department of Correction to conduct a full mental health assessment on Depa and create a care plan he can follow while behind bars. Depa pleaded no contest to one count of aggravated battery on an elected official or educated employee, which I didn't know that you have a higher issue if it's an elected official or an educated employee. The teacher's aide, Joanne Nadich, reportedly suffered 5 broken ribs, a concussion, hearing and vision loss, and was diagnosed with PTSD after Depa threw her on the ground and proceeded to kick and punch her back in February 2023. So, in this video that is included on Shade Room, you kind of see a brief bout of the incident. But there are other videos in the description below. I'm probably going to include an article that links down to an article that provides more of the information, just to kind of give you more full depth. Because the whole video is pretty. It's not. I don't want to say it's not safe for work, but it's pretty brutal. Like this young man went to put the beats on this teacher's aide. And it's a super unfortunate situation. You do have this young autistic brother who at the time was 17, so they would have been considered a minor. And based off the story, it's really unfortunate. And I guess I'll kind of just start diving into the question. But once you look at some of the background information about like they had other instances of aggravation and assaults prior to this situation. How the parent came out and said the school didn't do all that they could to potentially prevent these type of things. It's just bad all around. So just given based off what we do know, and if there's any questions, I can obviously try to provide additional information, but not to necessarily hyper focus on this story, even though it is pretty tragic. I mean, what in general do you think when you guys see this story? Do you think when it comes to young autistic folks, there should be a higher level of grace and charitability when it comes to them, or when you see a video like this, it kind of makes you throw all that out the window and think they deserve, however, whatever the courts believe that they deserve? What do y'all think? Let's start with you, Ace.
In general, and I will say I'm not the most familiar. I mean, I'm not familiar with the story at all. This is my first time hearing of it. But in general, like, I would not give much, if any, more grace to somebody who is, I won't just say autistic, but somebody who was allowed to be in public. Like, they weren't deemed to be somebody who needed to be in a mental institution beforehand. So case, like, if their mental disability wasn't so severe that like they were required to be in some type of institution, then yeah, then them being subjected to the same sentence or a similar sentence that a person without the disability would be subject to. I don't, I generally don't have a problem with that in my mind. Um,
So that's the
and
threshold. If they're out in public, then they have to deal with everything that the public, general public, has to deal with.
yeah, like if they've had, whatever mental evaluations are required to determine that 'cause obviously they were diagnosed autistic. Like that's something we can, at the very least, we know that was their disability, and they apparently had others. These were diagnosed things that were still like they were still determined to be okay, be within society. I mean, not regardless of, but like per their diagnosis.
I mean,
So
just because you're autistic
that
or
means
suffer some level of mental health issues doesn't mean you can't be a part of society. No.
I mean, there are some mental disabilities that do require you not to be part of society. Like that do require you to be held in a some type of institution because you're not fit to be part of society.
This is true. But I mean, with disabilities in general, obviously we have some aspects of society in which we like, I don't want to say cater, but adjust towards it. I mean, it's going extreme, but we have like braille in some locations. Like we adjust society for people with disabilities until they can still participate in a general society. We don't have to we don't have to put them away or separate them.
Hmm. We do, but still, like that doesn't. I don't think that changes. I don't think that changes the um changes the fact that they are still like if they've been deemed to be within society, even with any type of guardrails um or accommodations that are required for their mental health, there still is a there still is like a determination that they are mentally fit to, I mean, not beat the hell out of somebody. Like they've been determined to have the mental capacity to not to not give into like an urge to beat somebody down like this um like this dude did. So what I'm trying to say is like the the determination has already been made that they had the capacity, just like we have the capacity to stop themselves from um giving into this urge to beat this teacher's aide up.
Well,
And
to be fair,
because of that,
Nobody gets an evaluation of restraint from physical violence. Like nobody tests you at some point in life. Hey, can you be inside without being the shite out of somebody? But I genuinely understand what you're saying.
yeah. um and yeah, just like given that they had a diagnosis and they were still deemed fit to be in society and not be a danger such that they just have to be put in a mental institution off rip. I think the same the exact same, like maybe there could still be some lenience if you had like if a lawyer and if a lawyer was able to pull in some expert that said no, this particular thing in their brain, like literally, like CTE, for example. Is that what it's called? The concussion thing, where like people
Yes.
that have gotten multiple concussions are more prone to violent behavior. If it's something like that, I could see a more lenient sentence, maybe, but yeah, I don't know. Even in that situation, like depending on the severity of the crime, almost just doesn't seem like it would really matter.
I think fundamentally
The
we
only
understand.
other thing I can say is, yeah, and the only other thing I can say is like I don't like I'm not this huge fan of the prison system as a whole either. Like I do think there's definitely fundamental flaws with it, but just from the perspective of a punishment needing to be dealt for the crime, it's I lean less towards like a more lenient sentence being needed.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think fundamentally we understand your stance on the matter. If if they've had some level of evaluations and they are deemed it's deemed that they can exist in this society, then they have to participate by society's rules and society's consequence. I think the only thing we could question is, so do you fully trust or put faith in the level of evaluations that are available at this time? I guess. I mean, we're saying they had an evaluation or an assessments, and it was deemed that they're acceptable for public school or whatever the case may be. But aren't you then putting your full trust in whoever, whatever counselor or therapist or whoever was involved in that process, their diagnosis, even though a person could have prior experiences? Like, how many experiences or incidents do you get even after or before the evaluations?
Mm. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that there could have been human error or um yeah, we'll just say human error, like the diagnosis was not 100% correct. And also, I mean, you could you could just go ahead and say like given the incident occurring, would this change the would this have changed the diagnosis?
Yeah.
And if that's if that's going to be part of the consideration, then that would have to be something that is determined like during or before/during the trial process, where they get another evaluation to see if they should be um they should be held to the same standards. But
But they still go to jail.
yeah, just yeah. um so yeah, I mean, it might just be that like I have I have less of a tolerance for violence, regardless of the mental capacity of the person that committed the crime.
Which is this is a 100% valid, fair point. I mean, at the end of the day, we all, not we all, but we can be sympathetic towards somebody that has some level of issues. But at the end of the day, once you start beating the crap out of somebody, I mean, how much sympathy can you have?
Yeah.
How about yourself, Ghost? What do you think of a situation like this? Do you tend to lean more on the they deserve more grace and charitableness side, or do you think they deserve the full extent of the law based off the circumstance?
Um, I don't know. This couple different things I'm kicking around in my head. I'm kind of leaning toward Ace's side, but I think the first thing to determine is whoever's making these assessments and whoever's making these determinations on if this person is fit to be a part of normal society, if those assessments are deemed accurate and correct, if the if in this case if this autistic person was found to have or to not be developmentally disabled to the point where they have control over their actions and their emotions, and this was just a result of them, similar to how a regular person would, just uh, losing their self-control and going crazy on somebody. I do not think that they should be given any leniency as far as punishment goes, because again, if that determination was made in the first place, that comes with the caveat that if you are deemed capable enough to be treated as a normal person, you get the punishment of a normal person.
Mm.
On the flip side, if it's determined that you do not have the capacity to keep control of yourself in the way that a standardly development, I don't know the correct term, but a person with like a typical mindset would have, then I don't think there should be, from a punishment standpoint, as harsh of a judgment. But on the flip side, I think that that comes with the caveat that you cannot be treated as part of normal society at any point from that point on in your life.
Jesus.
And I I'm not even trying to be like harsh with it. It's just it's kind of like if you have a dealing with a child, and this is you're dealing with like a baby, and the baby is you're trying to feed the baby's throwing stuff, it's food on the floor when you're trying to when you put a bowl in front of it and like, here, eat this, and it's just not accepting it. A baby is not going to be able to actively process the fact that no, I shouldn't be doing this, and so therefore they shouldn't be given the opportunity to throw the food on the floor. There should be precautions taken to prevent that. Whereas if you're dealing with like a more advanced child, like that's 6 or something, and is the child is doing the same thing, then it comes with the fact that okay, this child is going to get punished, whereas the baby would not get punished, but that older child still would have the opportunity to redeem themselves and show that they are capable of acting mature and not doing the action that they shouldn't be. So that's kind of like the general way I look at this,
Mm.
and I feel like you can't have it both ways. Like if this kid or this I don't even know, this
It's a
18-year-old,
it's a kid.
yeah, if he's in a regular public school, I don't think that any leniency should be given to him. And I think the fact that he was even in the school in the first place is kind of crazy, because I did a quick bit of reading on my own, like from this article, another separate article I found. And this was a quote from the mother on the witness stand regarding the child. I had told the school that being hungry was a trigger, that noise was a trigger, that being told no was a trigger, that being corrected in front of other people was a trigger, and a lot electronics was a huge trigger.
Yeah.
I hear that,
Well,
and I say, why
they
the
did it.
fuck is he going to a regular school if all
The
those things are
electronics definitely came into
triggering?
place.
That's
Fair
wild.
enough, but like, if you know all this and the school knows all this, why is he being allowed to even be put in the opportunity to harm this teacher like this? And I think that it's either A, the mother is trying to push a narrative that favors her son to avoid
Yeah, I
that
mean,
jail
obviously they don't
time.
want their child to go to prison.
Yeah, or it could be this is actually true, but she just didn't have an option. as like any alternative place to send him because maybe there aren't any schools in the area that are capable of dealing with him. By the way, this 18-year-old is 6'6" and 270. Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
Yeah, he
Or
yeah, he was a big boy.
yeah, and maybe she didn't want to have the alternative be, oh, he goes to a mental hospital or some place that really wouldn't have any care for his well-being, which is a whole nother conversation about how we treat mentally ill people and all that, which we don't have to necessarily get into. But I don't know. I feel like it should be either or. If they find that he really is developmentally disabled to the point that he had no control and no conscious malice in his mind when he went through with this, then he shouldn't get prison time, but he should be either I don't know what the options would be if he goes to an institution that permanently houses him, provides care for him, but he can't just be like, oh, you're gonna get a regular job in 10 years and you're gonna work a 9 to 5 and take the subway home every day because who's to say you won't snap on the subway and put other people in the hospital? So it's either that or you don't treat him like that, but again, he goes to prison because it should, in my mind, if he's going to prison, then there's the judgment aspect where you need consequences for what you've done, and there's also the rehabilitation aspect where you need to make sure, or in theory, help this person to not do what they did again. If he's mentally ill, there's no point in judging him for something that he had no real conscious control over. And there's going to be no rehabilitation because he could get out and do the same exact thing. And again, he can't, his mind isn't to the point where he can choose if he wants to do this or not. So I don't think that in this case, both like the 5 years prison, 15 years probation, I don't think that's appropriate. But again, I'm not an expert, and I know that if I got beaten down like this teacher's aide did, I would not be happy with hearing that he got off with no prison time and just probation. But on the flip side, it's like there are certain things, like going back to the baby analogy, where you can't punish a baby because they don't know what they're doing. So I feel like it should be either or.
Yeah, totally understandable. Yeah, I tend to lean towards what you're saying. You were effectively saying the same thing. We just necessarily can't have it both ways. If it is deemed that a person can slash wants to be a part of society, the public society, then you have to deal with public society rules. Yeah, I will say for myself, it's one of those things we definitely have to understand more of the circumstance. And this is all going to be case by case, but understand more of the circumstance to really be able to have a solid say one way or the other. Because when you just see the headline, I'll take 16 times to 5 years for assaulting somebody. Oh, well, my first thought is, well, I don't know if they should be going to prison. They should probably go into some type of mental health facility. But then, depending on the way you go, the way you look, whether the person's had multiple previous instances of violence. I believe this was during the actual case when it was ongoing, but they actually did bring in mental health experts, and somebody did deem that they were able to, or somebody was able to deem that they do understand that they do understand right from wrong. So that's also an element that we look at here. And yeah, I think it's definitely an unfortunate situation all around. Obviously, we never want to we don't want to be in a society in which depending on which way your diagnosis goes, we just completely bar you off from everybody else. But we also have to try to have a society where people are as safe as possible. Are you able to scroll down and you can see the comments? Because the interesting thing is, from everybody I talked to, it seems like we're on a similar page of you know, as unfortunate as it is, based off the crime here, they do deserve some level of punishment. But if you look inside the comments, if you can't pull them, like, everybody should have to
Yeah, I
believe
don't
me.
think I can.
Um, One person said, I work with autistic kids, and sometimes these behaviors occur within a blink of an eye. Prison is not the place. Someone says 5 years. He needs treatment, not jail. Someone said, I was saying, whenever we talk about mental health, everyone starts typing their paragraphs. As a mother of a autistic son, this pisses me off. Why wasn't his behavior planned and forced? A well-trained BCBA or a therapist would have known his triggers and know not to just let him take the switch, but transition him accordingly. A special needs teenager does not need jail, but to be placed in a facility to train to work with them. So a lot of people are saying that he doesn't need jail. He shouldn't go to jail, rather. He needs help, not jail. Biggest fear for my son. Dang, a lot of people have people with autistic kids. And there's one person that I read this comment before. Someone said she's a teacher's aide. It's not her job to confiscate anything from a child. It's her job to assist the teacher. The teacher should have handled this, or behavior specialist. Any child on a spectrum, in my opinion, should not be in the conclusion. Should not be in an inclusion class. If they are, they should have a certified trained specialist assisting them. This baby should not be going to jail, first off, because he has special needs and the school did not properly care for him, and second, because he's a minor. So yeah, a lot of people don't actually believe they should be going to jail at all. And some people were bringing up the fact that this is a teacher's aide, so they shouldn't have been taking the switch in the first place, and it's more of a fault of the school. Which, I mean, we can try to. And I mean, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with bringing up the lacking or shortcoming of the school. Then we kind of get into a conversation of like, well, does the average public school really have the facilities to really take care of everybody that may have special needs? But yeah, I don't know. You guys just think this is kind of
No.
a thing where like a lot of people have a high level of empathy towards young folks that have special needs? Because a lot of people are saying they don't deserve jail. That's not what y'all saying.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's kind of crazy because in general I am an empathetic person, but when it comes to violent crimes, like I don't really have that much. I don't really have that much like sympathy. It's like, okay, like yes, all of these things are valid points. Maybe the teacher shouldn't have took the switch away. Maybe the school did not provide what he like the environment that he needed, but he committed a violent crime. Like there still has to be some type of repercussion in my mind,
Yeah.
and like maybe I can give some I guess I can give some like ground in terms of, okay, should it be jail or should it be a an institution? um should it be jail or should it be an institution? And given my perceived uh shortcomings of the prison system, like maybe there is a reality in which there is um there is still a punishment, but it is in an institution where the person is getting help to be rehabilitated back in society. So maybe that is a thing, but yeah, to me there's still like at some points there's still got to be like a punishment. Like it's yeah, I don't really have a lot of empathy when it comes to stuff like this, I guess.
Yeah, I think it really is not really boils down to, but I think it has a lot to part in to do how you kind of perceive the situation. If you are somebody that's in the world of working with special needs kids and or young black or brown kids, because that's also an element I see a lot in the comments. If this was a white kid, they'd be giving them more treatment, which depending on the environment, that's 100% not true. But yeah, depending on what you perceive requires more or less empathy. Because I'm with you. If once we start talking about violent crimes, well, we can might feel sad about the situation. We literally have to create the first and foremost thing we have to do is create a society that people can feel safe in. Because if we don't have that, then it can't work. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have too much else on this. Again, it's super unfortunate. Um, yeah, that video was not pleasant to watch. Yeah, we just continually. That's why over here around here we always, and I know some people don't like when we say it, but we always you know send continual prayers that the Most High helps people both physically and mentally because people definitely are struggling with things. And we are very conscious of that, and we just have to do whatever we can to try to create systems and societies where people where people can feel safe, and also we continually try to help people that may require it. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's nothing else we can move on to the next topic.